When you train players in the art of one-on-one, you don't start with 15 moves. You start with a go-to move and a counter. Move and counter move. Our strategy for attacking zones is similar. First is our go-to move, second is our counter move, and third, we learn the incidental shots that occur during our move and counter move. This is a simple strategy because I want our players to be able to understand, articulate, and execute the strategy. The first step in our strategy, our go-to move, is to create and make third-grade shots. What's a third-grade shot? It's a layup, the easiest and most basic shot in basketball, without contact, right here. When zones collapse, distort, or rotate to stop the layups, our counter move, our second step of strategy, is to set pin screens and skip. Now, you might think that we do this to shoot threes. We will. There'll be some wide open shots taken by good shooters, but we pin and skip primarily to create switches, rotations, and closeouts that will crack open the zone and get back to our go-to move, shooting layups inside. What about three-point shots, dribble penetration, Laker cuts, and the rest of the read and react? We will default to those incidental shots. That's the third leg of our strategy. While the defense works to stop our go-to move and our counter move, these other shots will come open. As an example, we're going to take three-point shots, but they'll be inside-out, wide-open three-point shots, much higher percentage. Let me conclude this big picture of our strategy with this thought. When most teams see a zone, they automatically think three-point shots. That's their strategy. Let's shoot them out of the zone. So they'll stop moving, stop screening, stop doing the things that made the defense switch to a zone in the first place, and simply hunt threes. When that doesn't work, they have nothing to turn to. We're not going to do that. We're going to stick to the read and react. Putting pressure on the rim, the threat of layups, is not only our first strategy, it's our constant strategy. Does this sound familiar? Of course. It's the read and react strategy against all defenses. Our go-to move is simple. When the ball is in the outer one-third, all zones fall into a 2-3 formation. Although it's not always necessary, we try to get the corner defender to play the ball. With our read and react actions, we give the wing two targets, someone in the logo, also called the nail, and someone in the short corner we like calling the flank. This puts two players in one zone defender's area. Whichever way the wing passes, the center of the zone will be wrong. If the wing passes to the nail, it leaves the flank open. We call that nailing the zone. If the wing passes to the flank, that leaves the nail open. And we call that flanking the zone, or we just flank them. A note, it's not necessary to always drag the corner defender to the wing in order to score with the nail on the flank. Here are two examples. Everyone is matched up. But when the ball is passed to the nail, the corner instinctively steps towards the ball. With the flank playing behind the zone, stepping towards the goal beats the corner defender. The wing and corner are filled. The corner defender is guarding two players, the corner and the flank. If the ball is passed to the nail, the corner defender will sometimes shade to this inside-out pass, and the flank can slip to the goal for a layup. So, the nail and flank actions are our go-to moves for layups. Let's complete the big picture, and then we'll look at all the ways you can get these spots filled and all the ways you can create this layup. Now, if shooting a layup is our go-to move, then what's our counter move? If the zone protects the rim with extreme helping positions so that we cannot get layups, our counter move is to pin screen and skip. I will show you all of the pin screens that should be set from every spot on the floor based on the type of zone defense. I will show you the best way I know to train players to do it on their own, just like they do against player to player. But first, let's establish the big picture. Our go-to move is to pressure the rim for a layup. Our counter move is to pin and skip. Now, I know what you're thinking. We don't have very many great three-point shooters. Pin and skip's not going to be effective for us. Shooting the three-point shot's only one of the options of the pin and skip. The real reason you pin and skip is to create desperate closeouts or switch and rotations that will crack open the interior of the zone so we can do our primary thing, shoot layups. Again, what's the goal of your offense? To create and shoot more third-grade shots than your opponents. In fact, if you can make 6 more third-grade shots than your opponents, the odds are extremely high that you will win the game. That's what stats on all levels are showing. Most teams try to get their third-grade shots with fast breaks, rebound putbacks, and by driving to the goal. Doing those things won't separate you from your opponents because your opponents are doing the exact same thing. You have to do those at least as good as your opponent. What you need are additional ways to get more third-grade shots, and 6 more per game. The third leg of our zone attack strategy is the incidental scoring opportunities that will become available during our move and counter-move actions. This is where you'll see the advantage of running the read and react as your only offense. An example is the inside-out shot your team drill when they learn layer 2, feed the post and cut. Against the zone, when you feed the nail or feed the flank, there's going to be a Laker cut followed by the filling of empty spots along the perimeter. If the zone collapses, you'll be shooting inside-out shots, or you'll be driving the closeouts that follow. This means your layer 2 drills apply to both player-to-player and zone defenses. This collapses time frames in practice. You get 2 for the price of 1. Another example is dribble penetration. Your players can apply everything they learned in layer 1, like real estate drives and killing closeouts. The circle movement they learned in layer 4 will always put 2 offensive players into one zone defender's area. My point with these examples is twofold. You're going to score with more actions than just nail, flank, and pin and skip. In fact, you may score more points incidentally than you do with our move and counter move actions. But hunting the move and counter move creates the spacing, ball movement, and player movement that leads to incidental points. Secondly, you don't have to create zone drills for everything. Most of the read and react drills that you're already using, along with the reaction habits and skills that go with them, apply to zones. If you have just 1 year of the read and react under your belt, you'll probably only have to spend a little time rehearsing our go-to moves of nailing and flanking. Now that you understand the strategy, let's narrow our focus to our go-to move and how to fill these spots with the read and react. First, let's look at hunting the nail, perhaps the only tweak we have to make to the whole system. Then I want to answer the question that I know you'll have when it comes to feeding the flank. And last, we'll look at all the ways that your team can nail and flank in a continuous fashion and let you choose the best. The only tweak to our normal read and react actions is how we cut to the basket. Against zones, we want all cutters to slow up when their feet hit the nail area. Almost post up and hunt for a pass. Be an eager receiver. I don't think that this is much of a tweak if you've trained your team in all the scoring opportunities in layer 1 pass and cut, because after learning how to front cut and rear cut, your players should know the 4 logo opportunities. Here's how they were taught. If you pass and cut and cannot get to the basket because of sagging, helping defenders, then you catch with your feet in the air and you stick the landing in the logo, which we call the nail, against zones. And one of these 4 opportunities will be available. Here are the 4 options shown in drills straight from the Read and React course itself. Here's a pretty simple rotation, and you could do this from any 2 spots on the floor. Right now we're just coming straight down the highway. Every day this drill could be different by changing the move. Don't miss out on the triple purpose of this drill. We're working on our pass and cut rule that makes the offense work. We're learning to look for the ball in the mid-range when we can't get all the way to the rim. And we're working on our moves and finishes in the mid-range. Even though we're working on catching the ball in the mid-range, drawing defense, and dishing it to a teammate, I decided to step into the drill and force the passer to read me, either front cut or rear cut. We should always try to give a drill a dual or triple purpose. Now we've switched spots, and feel free to move your interior player wherever you want. This could be a 4-player drill, pretty easy rotation, but at this moment the right wing is rotating to the end of the line at the half line, and the half line is feeding the head of the key. The next level to this drill is to put another shooter on the other side of the floor and give the logo receiver a choice which way he or she will pitch the ball. Just let the shooter rotate to the end of the line. If you notice, the logo dish is one of our go-to moves that we're hunting against zones. Why? Because it leads to an uncontested layup. When we score with the logo dish against zones, we say we nailed them. Now, what about the other 3 shots? Logo shot, logo move, logo pitch. We're going to score with those, absolutely. They are high percentage shots against zones, but we will default to those because our goal is to try to get a layup first. My point is, your team should not view this as something new. It's part of the first layer. The only thing that's new is that you're going to hunt for the logo, hunt for the nail a lot harder against zones. Now, besides passing and cutting, what other read and react actions send our players into the nail? What about a read line cut? You're filling an empty spot along the perimeter, and a defender goes over the read line, and you cut. Just try to catch the ball in the nail. By the way, that's a good drill for you to set up. Pass, cut. If you're not open, go on to the flank. The filler takes a read line, and we nail them. The same can be said about curling the puppy dog. Pass, cut, and as you're filling, the weak side defender has gone asleep. Then curl the puppy dog, catch the ball in the nail, and we nail them. Another good drill. A dribble at will send a cutter into the nail. A dribble at downhill will send a cutter into the nail. A dribble at uphill will send a cutter into the nail. There's 2 more good drills for a total of 4. Read line, nail them. Curl the puppy dog, nail them. Dribble at downhill, nail them. Dribble at uphill and nail them. And I haven't even gotten to the drill section yet. Speaking of drills, I'll close this section with a training thought. You might rehearse and drill the nail as an area on the floor, but eventually you'll train against guided defense before going live. Show your players that when defense is on the floor, the nail is an area between defenders, not a specific spot on the floor. In other words, I don't want them to stop here or here. I want them to stop right there, right between the defenders where the ball can see them and be delivered to them. This is just as important for the passer as it is for the receiver. That's open, that's not. When the ball is passed up top, the cutter should hunt for the ball in the nail right here. Not here and not there, right where the ball can be delivered to them. I hate to say it, but don't assume that this is common sense. I think a lot of players don't want the ball in the nail. They fear that defenders can tackle them or something. Your only solution is to drill them until they are fearless. Demand that they catch the ball in a power position and peek at the rim. They have lots of options, but the first one is to feed the flank stepping to the rim. They've got to be fearless. Passing to the short corner is something we learned in the second layer of the Read and React. The short corner of the flank is one of many spots that players can post. In the second layer, if you feed the short corner, the passer cuts. It's a Laker cut. The only tweak to this action against the zone is that we want the player in the short corner to look for the player in the nail first and the Laker cutter second. This brings up several questions. Should the Laker cutter wait? No. If the player in the nail is open, it's going to be a touch pass. And the Laker cutter is going to be arriving just in time to rebound if there's a miss. I've seen cases where the nail gets hung up and can't immediately step to the goal when the flank catches. If the Laker cutter does not hesitate and cuts like they should, they'll be the first option and the nail will be the second. Very good. By the way, don't be surprised when this double cut action draws the zone into the middle of the lane. It will create wide open, inside out three-point shots as these empty spots are. There are several ways to get players into the right spots within the habits and actions of the Read and React. You will choose the best way for your team based on your players. However, I would not commit myself to one way only. Sometimes you need to probe the defense with different formations during the game in order to see which way works best. In a 5-out formation, the cutters visit both the nail and the flank before filling out to the perimeter. There are 3 ways to start this action. The first way is the most natural. You've transitioned the floor into a 5-out formation. The defense surprises you by being in a zone, and your first action is to pass and cut to the nail just like you've been trained. However, there's no flanking teammate for this first cutter. But that's the only drawback because after the next pass, you'll always have one player in the nail and one player in the flank. Upon recognizing that it's a zone, one of your corner players slides into the short corner. This provides the first cutter with a teammate in the flank. On the next pass, the flank fills out and the nail fills the flank. This is not a permanent nail. This is 5 out, so all players will be moving in and out of the nail and flank. Five out, 2 flanks. Notice I didn't say 3 out, 2 in. This is only how we begin the possession. The rules are the same for everyone as if we were starting 5 out. Cutters will visit the nail first. And then they'll fill an empty flank on the next pass. And then they'll fill out to the perimeter on the next pass. This is the way I teach the nail 'em and flank 'em in the video Simplified Zone Offense. Start with only 5 spots on the floor: the top, the 2 wings, and the 2 flanks. Pass, cut, and fill from layer 1 ensures that the right spots are filled. This formation will guarantee a teammate in the flank for the first cutter. There are 3 ways to play 4 out, 1 in, and I'm going to start with the easiest of these 3. One of the easiest ways to ensure a player in the flank spot is to choose a permanent flank player. This is like a permanent post player, but it does not need to be a big post player. It might be your best passer, or someone who has good hands, someone quick off the floor, someone who can score from the flank, and certainly someone who can finish the 3rd grade shot. So, if you choose this 4 out, 1 in formation, your cutters, the 4 on the perimeter, will fill the nail. If they don't get the ball, and if the ball's not passed to the flank, then they'll fill out to an open spot on the perimeter. This is the most basic action of the first layer of the read and react. Pass, cut, and then fill out. Your permanent flank player can follow the ball or not follow the ball. Sometimes there's an advantage to remaining on the weak side flank. I'll cover their options when we get to the pin and skip counter action. A permanent nail player is allowed to hunt the logo area at all times. This does not mean that he or she will follow the ball at all times. Sometimes they'll let the ball swing or pass to the wing and stay on the weak side. This allows them to set high pin screens, something we'll look at later. But for now, it allows the zone to shift so that they can wait for the opening and then flash to the ball. Since the nail is taken care of, cutters will go straight to the flank and will fill out when the ball is passed uphill. The one action that I will demand from the permanent nail is that they dive to the goal when the ball is passed to the flank. They should be so good at this that their feet are moving while the ball is in the air. They should dive to where the ball can see them and be delivered to them. And they should be aware that they can seal a defender at times. Sometimes it's just a bump and then a dive. The two other reasons I would be playing a permanent nail would be because this player can score in this area and because this player can pass in this area. He or she must be adept at passing to the flank first and then to the outside second. The reason I describe a permanent nail this way is to stress that I'm not putting a player in the nail because they can't play anywhere else. This is not a place for a low skill or no skill player. Think of your most clever and fearless player. They might not look like a typical post player, and that's my point. I've seen some pretty small players that are great at the permanent nail and permanent flank positions. I'll show you how and where I would play the low or no skill player later. Here's an example of a good player in the permanent nail flashing first and drawing the center. The corner, the ball side corner, is drawing the corner defender, and our cutter on the way to the flank gets the pass for the layup. Our permanent nail player made that possible. I call this the Larry Bird formation because this is how they used Larry when he was in college. Larry can flash to either the nail or the flank whenever he or she wants to. They can flash early or they can wait and flash after the zone shifts. The cutters simply fill whatever Larry does not fill. You go where Larry is not. If Larry is in the flank, then cutters go to the nail. If Larry's in the nail, then cutters go to the flank. Now, this is not what Indiana State did with Larry. He just moved around inside until he got the ball and did something good with it. The other four stayed outside and spread the floor. But if I mention Larry Bird or any other legend, this action immediately gets credibility. But seriously, if you have a clever, skilled, high IQ player, the Rover might be a good fit. This is 3 out with 2 in permanently. I'm not a huge fan of attacking zones this way. I think it's a bit more difficult than any other way. But since I've been talking about permanent inside players, let's cover the good and bad of 3 out, 2 in. First, the negative. Permanent players are easier for zone defenders to mark and keep track of. I like players moving in and out of the nail and flank. If your 2 inside players are always hogging the nail and flank, in other words, if they don't occasionally leave the nail and flank open, your perimeter players will make shallow cuts or stop cutting at all because they realize they're never going to get the ball. And if they never get the ball back, they start taking outside shots and dribble penetration shots that aren't always the best. Remember, the read and react runs on 5-player fuel. That's not worth sacrificing. The best chance for success with this formation comes when these 2 players are sharing the nail and the flank with the perimeter players. Tell your team that there are 3 interior spots, the nail and 2 flanks. Perimeter cutters will fill whatever spot is empty. An example, You could start both in the flank and let your cutter fill the nail first. Now, this gives the nail two possible targets for layups. Another example comes from training the high post to allow the cutter to hit the nail first. And when he or she exits, then the high post drafts the cutter into the nail. You get a double cut action while maintaining the flank the whole time. When we get to the pin and skip actions, you'll find a few more creative ways to manage. When the zone packs the lane to the point that we cannot crack it open for a third-grade shot, then we must counter with pin and skips. But what is the purpose of the pin and skip? Is it to shoot three-point shots? No. That's only one of the options. The main purpose is to crack the zone open for a chance. When it comes to pin and skips, your team needs to know who is responsible for this counter move against zones. Players who are 2 or more spots away from the ball are responsible. It is not the responsibility of the ball handler. They must worry about handling the ball and feeding the nail or the flank. Players 1 spot away from the ball must pay attention to the ball handler. They might receive a pass or be dribbled at, or they might be filling an empty spot for an inside-out pass. It's up to the players 2 or more spots away to recognize helping defenders, leave their spots, set the pin screen, and call it loudly to get the attention of the receiver. Why would a pin and skip crack open the zone? The pin and skip will create a desperate closeout from a defender, like this, but so will a simple skip pass. So, the reason we set a pin screen is to delay the recovery of this defender who's responsible for that area and force a defender like this, the corner defender, to rotate out of position. Now, that's a desperate closeout, but it forces the zone to start shifting and rotating to cover these spots. And while the zone is shifting and rotating to cover these spots, we will be hunting the flank and the nail. But that brings up the question, how do we get players in the flank and nail after every pin and skip? I mean, there's 4 different angles and 4 different types of pin and skips. What is our next action after a pin and skip? Here's where I establish a rule in order to simplify. Whoever sets the pin screen rolls to the flank. Now, they might be open right there, and it's over. It's a third-grade shot, but if that's not open, they're headed to the flank. Whoever throws the skip pass, think pass and cut. They're cutting to the nail. And we have our triangle, our nail and flank. Now, regardless of how you're playing, 5 out, 4 out, 1 in, you can continue your brand of nail and flank action from there. Let's look at all the pin and skip situations, and then the best ways I know how to get your players to do it. When the ball is in the outer 1/3, free throw line extended and below, all zones flatten to a 2-3. More importantly, there will be a low weak side defender and a high weak side defender in place by design. You can count on it. They're not there in principle. They're there by design. It's their assignment. Now, a perimeter player or a weak side post player, flank or nail, either one, they can set the screen on either one of these defenders. So the receiver lines up the ball and the screen, and the skip is made. The screener might be open right there, on their way to the flank. If so, it's over, okay? But if not, then you're sliding onto the flank. The player who made the skip pass is following it to the nail. And if we've cracked open the zone, our nail and flank will be open. When the ball is in the outer top quadrant, the outer 1/3 above the free throw line extended, like this. So the zone has shifted a little, just a little bit, like this. We set the pin screen on the defender that's supposed to cover the corner, like this. And we slide the wing into the corner. After the skip, and that's our diagonal skip there, the pin screener opens up into the flank, and the passer follows their pass to the nail. Of course, there's going to be filling action. This is one of those situations where the flank and the nail can be set up better with the receiver catching this and immediately dribbling up to the wing in order to pass back to the flank. I'm going to show you the cross key pin and skip from a 2-guard, 2-wing, 2-corner, the 6-spot formation. But I don't want you to think that that's something just for the cross key pin. All of these pin and skips can be executed either from the 5-out spots, the way you've seen so far, or from the 2 guards, 2 wings, 2-corner formation. Those formations are up to you. So, with a cross key pin and skip, if the ball is on or above the free throw line extended, we can pin this top weak side defender. And this skip pass winds up being shorter than our classic or diagonal skip pass. Now, it has the advantage of possibly pulling this corner defender out of position, leaving the flank and the nail to be covered only by the center of the zone. And this is the situation we always want to create. Now, following our rule, the pin screener rolls to the basket. It might be open right there. If not, continues to the flank. The passer follows their pass to the nail, and everyone else fills. The baby pin is a great way to initiate our possession. When the ball is in the middle 1/3 of the floor, the baby pin screen is set by players below the wing, either from the corner, like this, or from a posting position. They could be in the flank, mid-post, here, doesn't matter. They're coming from here to set the pin screen. And yes, we could set 2 of these at the same time. The screener sets it with their back to the wing or towards the corner. But the wing slides only halfway, like this. We don't want this wing sliding all the way to the corner. Remember, we want to draw the corner defender out of their position towards the wing. So, if you err I would rather you receive the ball closer to the wing than to the corner. Now, against a 1-3-1, it might not matter as much. The baseline defender has to cover the corner regardless of which side the pass is thrown to. That's a very long closeout. And the corner three-point shot is the highest percentage shot in basketball. If you don't catch and shoot, a catch and drive is highly probable. Now, what's our next action after baby pins have been set? It's the same rule. The pin screener rolls to the flank. They might be open on the way. The passer cuts to the nail. Now, what about the pin screen that was not used? They just let go and fill the empty spot. The top of the key is going to be empty and it needs to be filled. I have two methods for ingraining the pin and skip counter move into the habits of players. The first way is to initiate the possession with a pin and skip. The second method will train them to set the pin screens during a possession. The first step of training has a set play feel to it. You're either going to call it verbally or use hand signals or some combination. We all know how to call a set play. For the first two pins, I've chosen my trigger to be where the ball enters the half court. Here's the situation. The defense is set. The ball is coming up the floor. When the ball enters the half court through the jump circle, that's the trigger for setting double baby pins. Of course, you could add a verbal call from the bench to this action. You could add a hand signal. Regardless, the ball needs to enter the half court in the middle 1/3, and the ball handler should make the pass before they engage the defense. The goal of this set is to train the team to look for and set baby pins whenever the ball is in the middle 1/3. So, the next training level to baby pins is to get the team to set them in the middle of a possession. Of course, that's the next training method. This is where we begin. Similar to the baby pins, when the ball comes across the half court in the outer 1/3 of the court, outside the jump circle, it's a trigger to set the diagonal pin screen. Now, the zone has already shifted a bit to one side. We want to pin whoever takes the corner, in this case, the baseline defender. Again, I want the ball handler to be able to skip the ball before engaging the defense. Don't get so close that you have to pick up the ball and throw it over someone. Don't catch quite in the corner. If you do, you'll have to dribble up. The trigger for setting both a classic and a cross-key pin screen is the first dribble at to the wing. Again, you might need to use a verbal call as they're learning this. The dribble at sends the wing through the nail. Sprinting through the lane to the other side and getting shot ready as soon as possible. As the wing runs through the lane, we can use this wing to set the cross-key pin screen, or we can use the corner to set the classic, or we can set double pin screens. Now, what's your next action after this skip pass? Well, both of these can't fill the flank. And we're not going to change the rule for the passer who's supposed to fill the nail. So the simplest thing to do is to have the low pin screener step to the flank and have the high pin screener flare to the three-point shot. Now let's put it all together and look at a variety of scoring opportunities. The ultimate weapon against helping sagging defense that's clogging the lane is to set a pin screen in the middle of normal read and react actions. The question is, how do I get my players to do it? They might understand it mentally, they might do it perfectly in drills, but they never do it during live action. The best method I know for training this response is called the hybrid game. It goes like this. The offense cannot shoot, and the defense cannot touch the ball until a certain type of pin screen is set. Once the pass is caught, the action turns live for both offense and defense. One more caveat. You cannot begin your possession with a pin and skip. Or you can modify that rule and say that your action does not turn live until the second pin and skip is set. Or the rule is if you start a possession with a pin and skip, it doesn't count. You can make the rule that it's not live until any pin screen is set. Or you can be very specific and say that the action will not be live until a certain type of pin screen is set. It'll take a while before they set a pin screen. That's okay. Tell them that this is good conditioning for both teams. It's a very good shell drill until a pin and skip is executed. With this method, your team gets to combine move and counter move in a semi-live guided defense situation. They should be nailing and flanking, whatever way you choose, while they hunt for the pin and skip. About the only thing I haven't mentioned is dribble penetration. When you move the ball, move players, and maintain spacing, you're going to create gaps and cracks in the zone that will allow you to drive. Remember, you may not score with a nail or a flank, but it allows you to move the ball and move players while the zone is being screened with your pin and skips. Your opponent may be more athletic than you. If so, let the athleticism of the ball create the opportunities that your players can't create individually. And one of the ways to take advantages of gaps, closeouts, and defensive breakdowns, the first set of drills for your players will be a no-brainer because we already know them, their names, and their defensive reads. If you can drive to the logo, you have all the same options we covered with passing and cutting to the logo. You have the logo shot. You have the logo move. You have the logo pitch. And most importantly, you have the logo dish. Drive to the logo and nail them. If your team is adept at layer 4 circle movement, you'll find several advantages against zones. There are reasons that I say if your team is adept at layer 4. You might not have had time to get to layer 4. Your team might just be working with the basics of layers 1, 2, and 3. Or you may have been working on layer 4, but your team is not quite there yet. As many of you know, it's okay. You can run the entire read and react without layer 4. You'll lose some scoring opportunities, but it won't stop you from running the offense. It won't stop you from attacking zones either. So, if you're not great at layer 4 yet, let the following advantages be motivation to keep on drilling and demanding it. Circle movement sends receivers out of one zone defender's area into another zone defender's area. Without circle movement, a zone defender can help on a drive and on the pitch, recover in their own area. But if this potential receiver moves one spot in the direction of the drive, like this, circle movement by everyone, then it not only doubles or triples the recovery distance of this defender, but it also creates confusion about who's going to take the ball. If the ball drives into the logo while you're 5 out or 4 out with a ball side corner filled, circle movement will send this corner player running along the baseline, actually filling our flank position. So this puts 2 offensive players in one zone defender's area. And regardless of the decision, they're going to be wrong. So if they stay home and protect the goal from the layup, you're going to give up this natural pitch to the corner, the highest percentage three-point shot on all levels. If this player cheats and tries to play the natural pitch, you're going to give up the layup, the highest percentage shot in basketball. And we actually nail them by driving to the logo. If the ball drives into the middle, into the nail, layer 4 sends the post on a basic post slide down to the short corner and circle movement by everyone else along the perimeter. Now, with the center stopping the ball, circle movement has put 2 offensive players in one zone defender's area again. Okay? If this corner defender stays home to protect the rim, we've got the natural pitch to the corner. We've also got this natural pitch. If this corner defender plays the natural pitch, then we're going to nail them by driving to the logo. Circle movement always puts 2 offensive players in one zone defender's area. So when this player drives into the logo, forcing our basic post slide, sending everyone else circle moving on the perimeter, it puts a player in the safety valve position. That's 2 offensive players in one zone defender's area, the wing. And the wing cannot guard the ball and the safety valve at the same time. The flank is not only a great passing spot, but there's a scoring move that should go with it. The late Don Meyer called it the step, pound, hop. Andy Landers, the former women's coach at the University of Georgia, called it kiss my baseline. I call it the move. And it's a step through or a reverse pivot that turns your backside to the defense and protects your dribble. You make 1 pound with both hands while you shift your weight to jump off 1 foot and land in a hop. Stick the landing. If you can't turn this into a 3rd grade shot, you stand a good chance of drawing the foul and getting a 3-point play. Very good. Oh, perfect. Very good. Very good. Very good. Whenever the ball is passed to the flank, the weak side teammate should treat it like a baseline drive and fill the corner drift. If everything is covered, the center takes the flank, the weak side corner takes the nail, then the pitch to the corner drift leads to the highest percentage 3-point shot in basketball. when the flank catches the ball, there's another option in place of the corner drift. The top weak side defender usually sinks into the lane. This creates a pin and skip opportunity. Either the top pins for the wing and we skip, or the wing, instead of going to the corner drift, perhaps because this player has it covered, the wing sets the pin for the top. Now, besides a three-point shot, this creates another opportunity because usually there is some kind of rotation here. And we're going to continue with our same rules of nailing and flanking after a pin and skip. Whoever set the pin screen is going to the flank, and whoever threw the skip pass, which is this flank, is going to fill the nail. And our actions can continue from right there. Sometimes the zone is matched up with our players, and there's no chance to feed the nail or the flank. There are several situations that create this matchup, and I want to look at each one of them. But before I do, let me say again that I don't believe in the saying, this works every time. What I'm about to show you might not create the 2-on-1 situation that leads to a layup with our nail and flank. But sometimes it does, so it's worth trying. It's just another counter move, and a read and react team should always test the reaction of the defense. On YouTube, I call this action DARPing, D-A-R-P, dribble away and return pass. It's good to do anywhere against the zone, but in this case, we're dribbling uphill, away from the corner, trying to draw that corner defender away from the flank, and thus create the 2-on-1 situation with the center of the zone. As a general rule, I favor keeping the ball out of the corners when we're attacking zones. In fact, you should tell your players to try and avoid filling out to the ball side corner during our nail and flank actions. But sometimes it can be avoided. And here's one of the cases. You're 5 out, you're passing and cutting to fill the nail and flank, and it goes like this. And then the wing, instead of passing uphill, they pass to this corner. It's going to happen sometimes. Well, the rule is the nail goes to the flank and the cutter goes to the nail, and this player's filling this empty spot, this player's filling this empty spot, and we have this extreme overload we kind of need to clean up, and we need to try to create that 2-on-1 inside, because right now this corner defender can guard both. So this player should dribble up. Now, you've seen this before. We're trying to drag this player away from our flank, okay, but the dribble up is a dribble at to that player on the wing. So that player must cut. Now, what's the rule when we're 5 out? Well, the nail goes to the flank and the flank fills out. Now, the flank should certainly not fill that corner, because then we're right back to where we started with this extreme overload. So this flank should fill out to this opposite wing. So they're on their way. I'm going to stop them right there. But they're on their way filling out to the perimeter. And the nail fills the flank, and the cutter fills the nail, and hopefully we've dragged this corner defender up some and created our 2-on-1 with this zone defender, and we've cleaned up that overload mess. Now, like I said, this player's on their way to the perimeter, but on their way filling out, if this nail is open, you might wind up with 2 flanks for the nail to pass to. Just depends on which one's open. But we should take into account any actions that your players might take. So let's go back to the ball in the corner, nail flank, this extreme overload. And we dribble up, sending our wing to the nail and nail to the flank, and this flank does fill out to the ball side corner. Well, we still have this extreme overload, but it's only going to take one more movement of the ball to clean this up. Either continue your dribble at to this player or pass uphill, and this thing will clean up just like this. This player, of course, can't fill out over here. There's no empty spots. So this player's got to fill out this way. The nail goes to the flank, either flank, doesn't matter. The cutter, the passer, becomes the cutter to the nail, and this player fills up, and we've got our spacing again. Let's go back to that extreme overload again, ball in the corner, and this player dribbles up, trying to pull this defender away from our flank, and it becomes a dribble at for the wing. What if the nail or the flank, neither one, move, and this player cuts? Well, there are no empty spots for this player to fill, so they'll just go through and fill out. No problem. The read and react can absorb it. Another situation. You're playing 4 out with a permanent flank. We dribble up, again, to try to stretch this defender away from our flank. Well, 4 out with a permanent flank, the flank's not going anywhere. So the nail, if you remember, fills out, and the cutter goes to the nail. No problem. One more situation. You're playing 4 out with a permanent nail. On the dribble up, the flank is the one that fills out when you have a permanent nail, and the cutter, this is a dribble at, this cutter goes to the flank. No problem. Regardless of what type of pin and skip has been executed, in this case, a baby pin and skip, you may have caught the ball too deep in the corner, and with the screener rolling to the flank, we're back to this bad passing situation again. On the catch, immediately dribble up. Not only will this drag the corner defender away, but it gives the passer time to follow to the nail. And we have our triangle 2-on-1 situation against the center created again. Sometimes the ball is in the corner, the nail is filled, but the flank is empty. The dribble up can be used as a signal for the nail to fill the flank and the wing to fill the nail. If there's no one at the wing to cut, that's okay. Let me set this up again. Empty flank, but empty wing. On the dribble up, this player fills the flank, it draws the corner defender up, and we throw back. Well, this is just a Laker cut, and you're going to wind up with the cutter. Here's the situation. The flank's caught the ball, and they're feeling pressure from somewhere. Maybe some kind of trap. They're just feeling pressure. They can't pass the ball, and they can't score. So escaping to the corner, what we call the escape dribble, is a signal for the nail to fill the flank. Now, escaping out, the corner will come out and play. That's their responsibility. The nail will fill the flank. Now, we could stop there and celebrate that you got out of trouble, but I think you should immediately dribble up. Why? Well, we've just seen this. It drags the corner defender away from the flank. And it's a dribble ad for the wing, sending the wing into the nail. And we've created our 2-on-1 situation for nailing and flanking the center of the zone. Sometimes you cannot get the corner to come out and play the ball. In other words, this corner defender matches up with the flank, the center with our nail, and the wing with the ball. The ball handler should pump the flank, or the flank just recognizes this situation and breaks out to the corner. That's a signal for the nail to fill the flank. Now, the wing passes to the corner and cuts. Now, if the center had followed the nail to the flank, just be aware that this cut could be a layup, could turn into a layup. But if not, then we're back to the same situation. This player should immediately dribble up, drag the corner defender away from the flank, and create the 2-on-1 situation against the center of the zone. Where do you hide your no-skill player in this system? Well, you don't really hide them. You customize their role. The weak side flank. You can use any method that you want to nail and flank on the ball side. A permanent weak side flank has 3 assignments while you're doing that. Okay? Number 1, be an additional target for anyone catching in the nail. So that this player passed, this player cut to the nail. Let's say we already had someone in ball side nail over here. This pass to the nail. Now we have 2 targets. Number 2, pin screen any defender whose feet are in the lane. So moving from this weak side flank, you could pin this low weak side defender and call for the skip. And on the skip, you're opening right back up to your home base, to the flank. Or you can move from the weak side flank up here and pin in the high weak side defender. Ball is skipped, you're headed back home to your weak side flank. Now, if this player catches and there's not an immediate pass to the nail of the flank, then you're moving away to the weak side to get back to the weak side flank. Number 3, get inside position like this. Shot goes up from here, get inside position, and rebound the heck out of the ball. Those count. The weak side nail has 3 assignments. The first one is set a cross key pin screen on the weak side defender. The second one is be a second diver. So we got someone here in the flank, ball side flank. Let's say this player has passed and cut and gone to the nail, and they're not open, so this player's filling out, this player's leaving the nail and filling the flank. You can be a second diver right there. And we have nail and flank 2 times in a row. And the third one is from this spot. Any shots here? This is a great rebound, put back. Another way to be clever is to pin and slip. You're setting a pin screen, in this case a cross key pin screen, and this defender is cheating ahead of time and cheating over the top. Then switch your pin to a seal and slip to the nail. Seal the flank. You're in the flank, and the defense is matched up fronting you. The ball is passed to the nail. Instead of flashing to the go, the flank can seal the defender and then follow the pass to the go. Pin out the weak side. This could be a perimeter player, but more times than not, it's a weak side flank or mid post or high post who's just being clever. When the ball is high diagonal, not over here on the wing, but high diagonal, enough that the zone is shifted a little bit, but not so far that the weak side has dropped to their assignment down here. That's the trigger for this weak side flank to move up here and seal this wing, and we can throw the ball to the go for a layup. This is especially good against a 1-3-1. Here are some notes on attacking different zone formations. I've already touched on a lot of this, but this section will serve as a place where we can add future notes. I've not included trapping zones because traps are a different subject. You have to break the trap and then attack. When you do, you'll have a numerical advantage against the zone, and at that time, everything your team has learned in this course will aid them in finding the open teammate. Let's look at a non-trapping 1-3-1. You can match up with the zone initially. When the ball begins to declare side, it's going to make the zone shift, and we can attack with a diagonal pin and skip because there's only one defender that covers both corners, and this defender is already shading on this side of the goal, ball side of the goal. This makes for a long recovery by this defender, and many times it just forces a rotation of some kind. Now, I favor that this player, if they don't catch and shoot and catch and drive, I favor that they immediately dribble up and give this player time to fill the flank and give our passer time to fill the nail, and the dribble up will draw this corner defender away from the flank and the nail. And we're back to our 2-on-1 situation against one defender. It's not only possible to set baby pin screens against a 1-3-1, I would encourage you to do it. I like it. When the ball is in the middle 1/3, we're going to headhunt these wing players with baby pins. Now, they can come from the corner, or they can come from some post position, okay? And you can do double baby pins and give your ball handler a choice which way to go. Now, if you catch this in the deep corner, then again, I would, regardless of how they navigate this screen, I would encourage this player to catch and dribble up, because the screener is headed to the flank and the passer is headed to the nail. So this dribble up not only draws this corner defender away from the flank to give you space to throw back, but it gives these two players time to get into position. These will release and fill, and we've created our nail and flank 2-on-1 situation. And remember, the 1-3-1 drops to a 2-3 zone formation when the ball is in the wing or corner or anywhere in between over here. This corner, this baseline runner becomes that corner defender. The center, of course, plugs that hole. The weak side wing drops here, and the point drops to the weak side top. And you fall back into this 2-3 formation, something we've been attacking the whole throughout this whole course. So you can nail and flank any way that you want to, from a 5-out, pass and cut, and fill to 4-out, 1-in with permanent flanks. Now, don't forget that if you've got a clever player in the post or in position down here, perhaps it's just a cutter who's in the flank, and the ball is moving from top 1-3-1 to wing. The zone shifts like this, and this player is headed here. This player can seal and get this pass for a layup. The 2-1-2 or 2-3 zone is the most common zone formation. Good news is everything in this course is designed around attacking a 2-3, since all zone formations drop to a 2-3 when the ball's in the outer 1/3. So I only need a few reminders here. The first one is, do everything you can to get the corner defender, this corner defender, to guard the ball on the wing. Drag them away from the baseline. And we've looked at a number of ways of doing that. You know, if you catch too deep in the corner, then dribble up. But anything you can do to get this corner defender to play the ball and get away from the baseline will help. Number two, if the 2-3 zone is played abnormally high, like this, kind of aggressive, and I'll put the ball here. Let's say we have an inside player on the weak side. You can seal this inside defender and look for this pass straight here for a layup. Now, we looked at that against a 1-3-1, but it works against any zone that's played a little too high, especially 2-3. Number three, if the zone is aggressive, picking you up high, a good way to get the corner defenders to play the wing is to change your formation to 2 guards, 2 wings. Okay? So, with the zone matched up, a pass to the wing means this corner defender will be playing the ball. So when we get to our flank and our nail, let's just go ahead and speed this up and get players into those 2 positions. We've got our 2-on-1. Of all the zone formations, I think the 1-2-2 or 3-2 is the weakest against the nail and flank action. Typically, the nail or middle of the zone must be covered by the point defender. You know, if the ball's here, if the ball's in the outer 1/3, then this area must be covered by that point. So this means that the point must cover from the top all the way down, maybe even down into the short corner if we have someone there in the flank. That's tough. That's tough for any player to do. A good place to illustrate this is when you set baby pins against the 1-2-2. Let me show you. Let's move the ball back up here. Ball's in the middle 1/3, 1-2-2 or 3-2. And we set baby pins. We can set double ones here on these two defenders. And we make the skip pass. Now, at that point on the skip pass, this player has to go take the ball. This area must be covered traditionally by the point. So they've got to go from here all the way to here. You stand a good chance of your pin screener, and if you remember the rule, the pin screener, after the screen, they're headed to the flank looking for the ball right here. Your screener stands a good chance of beating this point to the rim. Now, if they don't, they're going to go on to the flank, right? And our passer's going to follow to the nail, and we have our 2-on-1 against the point of the zone. Now, since this center must cover the head of the key when the ball is back up top, it's to your advantage to move the ball from side to side. This is a good time to remind you that nothing works every time. But if you keep hunting for the nail and flank and pin and skip while you're changing sides of the floor, then it makes it really tough on this defender who must cover the top and then cover the nail when you move the ball side to side.